dangerous one. It happened even in 2015, although not after a long delay like this, because then there were many, when we had by-elections in June of 2015, it was because of a major earthquake in the MDCT, which threw up a number of constituencies. But it is bizarre to have 28 by-elections, because a by-election is normally caused by a death, a resignation, and so it's like we are having 7 by-elections in Kariba. They occurred, and how they occurred presented quite an opportunity. As we all know, we don't need to belabor this point that it was the unprecedented abuse of a Supreme Court judgment to construct a new bridge in the irrational hope of recovering water under an old bridge in order to give life to a mute case. That abuse, which was scandalous and outrageous, taken together with the abuse of the judgment that empowered Thokozani Kupe, who had participated in the 2018 election as a leader of her own party called MDC-T, participated as a presidential candidate, fielded parliamentary and local government candidates and so forth, and lost, suddenly is empowered by a court to run the party of those who defeated her. I mean, this makes us foolish, and I was tempted to use a stronger word. Not to the rest of the world who may not understand us and what is going on, but to ourselves. That unprecedented development with the recalls of MPs and councillors and so forth gave a context to this by-election. But what was particularly insidious about that is the impact on the electorate in 2 ways. That impact: one, it overturned the will of the electorate as expressed in 2018. Anywhere else in the civilized world, you overturn the will of the people, forget the impact on the councillors and MPs who have been recalled. The public should be as mad as hell, and they say, we will not take this anymore. That's what you would expect. But obviously, it also happens if the political community, organized society, triggers or enables the public to do this. That was in the one respect. The other, which made the bad situation worse, was to effect vacancies, cause vacancies through these recalls, and then lie that you can't hold the by-election. You will violate the Constitution. You will not seek the authority of the Constitutional Court in your violation. You will just issue a statutory instrument, which is nothing in front of the Constitution. But you will come up with a long-winded, badly written statutory instrument to say, thou shalt not hold by elections. But the effect of saying that is to cause constituencies and wards to go without representation for 2 years. Others have their MPs and their councillors. They go, they debate in parliament. The parliamentarians, MPs are doing some mobilization for resources to take care of the sick in the constituency, the young who need support for school fees, for this. They have no MP for 2 years. They had an MP, but this MP has now been recalled by a political party that the MP defeated in 2018. But now you are harming the society. I think that it is shocking that many people, certainly I count myself among those, expected the by-elections to focus on that context of how this occurred, the disenfranchisement of the voter. How what kind of a society would allow 128 or 122 communities, 122 wards or 28 constituencies to go without representation for an indefinite period. And no one really cries to say, I'm mad as hell, and we need to put a stop. Surely, if the by-elections were a mini general election that will impact on the forthcoming actual general election, that should have driven people crazy. But the people needed the contesting parties to address that. And it was quite shocking and surprising that this was not so. How else will you, are you going to raise the consciousness of the electorate for them to be conscious? So we had by-elections without a political contest. It's very important because this similar issue at a substantive level is now before the country. What is the context, the national context of the forthcoming general election? They missed the national context of the 2018 general election, that this was a coup, 7 months old, and there was no way a 7-month-old coup would tolerate an election. Therefore, either don't go into it, or if you're going to go into it, take the following posture as an outcome of a response to a theory of the case. So a political context was missed, and the by-election happened. The by-elections happened. From the outline that I gave, I have 8 points. I'm on 4th point now, and I'm going to try and speed up because I see my time is really gone. Just now, quickly. Where are we after the by-elections and before these major by-elections, mini general election, before the major election? Well, one significant feature of the by-elections, which shall be recorded into time immemorial, is that in the by-elections, through the by-elections, Senator Mwonzora managed to pull a historic feat of killing a whole movement called the MDC. That will not be forgotten. The results of the by-election will be forgotten very soon in 14 months. But what will not be forgotten in 14 months, thanks to Mwonzora, is that he killed the MDC. Some will argue that he was used to kill the MDC. Well, people write songs, but we remember the singers of those songs. Somebody wrote the song, Mwonzora sang it so loud that he will be credited with massacring the MDC, a whole movement, and managed a feat that ZANU-PF had failed to achieve. Even when I was with the ZANU-PF, we worked very hard and tried to deal with the MDC, but failed. Only to have one Mwonzora to succeed with just one soup. That history will not forget. And that is going to be a factor in the forthcoming election, because a party that had been quite effective and dominant in Zimbabwe's election since 2000 will not be there in 2023. It will be there nominally, but it's gone. But we should point out to Mwonzora's credit, or to the credit of those of his handlers, that the strategy worked in terms of the life of this parliament, in the sense that although ZANU-PF has a majority in the National Assembly, although the 54 or so seats that Mwonzora has as MDC2 or MDCA, even after the by-elections, nominally controlled. The MDC-T, MDCA remains an important player in Parliament, in the Senate, where Mwonzora himself luckily sits together with 25 or so others. Only the MDC-T, MDCA can be in the Senate. The CCC cannot be in this Senate until the dissolution of Parliament. It's not possible. even if vacancies come up, Mwonzora can put whoever he wants. He can even put his cousins and uncles and nephews in the Senate. A situation that is different in the National Assembly. After the by-elections, there is this very strange situation where we know that there are most of the, well, not all certainly, but most of the 54, if we remove the 18 who had been elected in 2018 and have come back as Triple C, they now know that there is no rational MP who had crossed the floor with the Mwonzora, who's sitting there thinking they can be re-elected in any configuration of Mwonzora post-Congress that he's talking about, or and so forth. It's impossible. The name of the game is now run. So they are there nominally. But it's strange that there are others who are Triple C who are wearing Mwonzora's colors in Parliament. Why they have not resigned boggles the mind. It's just one of these strange things in Zimbabwean politics where you see politicians doing things which are useful to themselves as individual politicians or leaders, but not useful to the constituencies that they represent. You have to show some evidence of standing by and for your constituents. It's a small place. It's one of the 210 if you are a councillor, or one of the 1,958 if you are, I mean, if you are a ward councillor, it's one of the 1,958, and if you are an MP, one of the 210. Why are you not prepared to stand with that small thing? No one is asking you to stand with, for Zimbabwe, the big thing, that constituency. It is very important for a politician to stand with and by their constituencies because the best politics are local. That Triple C MPs think that it is somehow strategic to be MDCA in Parliament when you are known that you are a Triple C is strange. It's stranger that Mwonzora now has lost the courage to wield these acts and put those guys out. He can't now because everybody knows. It renders the whole parliament not a serious institution. Now, let me move quickly to the implications from Mwonzora and his two MDCs to the Triple C. Most pundits have by and large credited Triple C with having won the by-elections that we are talking about, merely by dint of having won 19 out of the 28 that were contested. While this is understandable, makes sense, political sense that is, it is nevertheless problematic in that by-elections are first and foremost defined by which party held the seat before the by-election and is therefore defending that seat. It's common cause that Mwonzora threw away the seats because the incumbents made it clear that they were not loyal to him or his state-sponsored electoral theft. In response, Mwonzora literally just said, to hell with you, I can do without these 20 seats. He did not believe, nor did his handlers believe, that he had a chance in heaven of winning any one of those seats. But of course, they didn't know that it was going to be a festival of zeros, but they certainly didn't give him a chance of winning. Now, the fact that the winners of the seats in the 2018 election, who were recalled, defended their seats, means that these were not free seats, so to speak. These seats, the 20 seats, which were on offer on the 26th of March, had owners, those who owned them, the 2018 owners. And the fact that those owners defended the seats, colored the by-elections, because they were defended today or on the day of the by-election by the people who yesterday were the MPs and so forth. They were therefore not free seats. In the circumstances, the owners successfully defended 18 out of the 20 seats that were on offer, meaning they lost 2. Their party managed to grab 1 seat away from their port, that is the Kwekwe Central seat, which they had not won in 2018. The fact that they lost 2 of their 2018 seats clearly is a major challenge that should concern them going forward, with the implications for the 2023 general election. And in my view, what makes this issue particularly challenging is that an MDC, or rather, because they ran won those seats as MDC in 2018, means that they are now C candidates and therefore did not perform well in the parliamentary elections. They were not only outperformed by ZANU-PF candidates, except in Chegwood West, and I'm talking about 2018, where ZEC cheated in broad daylight in favor of ZANU-PF's Dexter Nduna, but they were also outperformed by their presidential candidate, Nelson Chamisa, who won 85 out of 210 constituencies, where they won only 63. He outperformed them by 22 constituencies. This is very, very important. The performance of the MPs in 2018 was not, and I'm talking about those people who now call themselves CCC. Their performance in 2018 was not as good as Chamisa's performance. He did better than them. And even where they were winning, in a number of cases where they were winning in the 63, he was also winning and getting better margins than them. That is the cause for concern going into 2023. In simple terms, CCC has a strong presidential candidate going forward and a weak slate of parliamentary candidates. And while supporters of Chamisa might say, yes, we always tell you, the president is better than you. It is dangerous for a presidential candidate to have a weak slate of parliamentary and local authority candidates. In fact, this is one of the challenges that Chamisa has going forward to win the presidency. He will need strong 210 parliamentary candidates and 1,958 ward council candidates. Without these, it becomes a tall order. But the real challenge for CCC ahead of the 2023 election is to be or not to be a brand new party. That is the question. So far, all structural indications are that CCC is a recycled MDCA launched in 2019. A new brand in politics is not declared. It is formed and seen. Politics is praxis. People can say, oh, strategy, blah, 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 blah. The strategy is what you see and not what you keep in your pocket. If that is the plan, well, to say we can declare and then things will happen, the jury is still out and the clock is ticking and time is running out. CCC has clear and present issues it needs to address regarding its organizational capacity. You cannot, it was okay to run for the by-elections with that aura of invisibility, popularity, only new kid on the block. 14 months' time, there is no new kid on the block. You cannot win by whatever means without an organizational capacity. And you cannot win by whatever means